Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today. We're going to be looking through a documentary-style lens at a truly groundbreaking approach to community transformation. I want you to imagine, just for a second, a neighborhood where technology isn't just another app on your phone, but an invisible, responsive infrastructure that actually listens and adapts to what the people living there need every single day. That is the promise of what we're looking at today. We're going to unpack the executive summary, the core problem, and the roadmap of an incredible initiative designed to completely change the landscape of local living. It's called Project Edward. Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. The challenge we face. Before we can really understand the solution, we have to look clearly at the stark reality on the ground. So here's the big question. Are our localized communities actively being left behind by the digital divide? It's really easy to just assume that because most of us have smartphones in our pockets, the tech gap is practically closed. But the truth is actually way more complicated. The digital divide isn't just about whether or not you have internet access. It's about whether the structural, everyday systems of a community, things like resource allocation, public safety, local commerce, and civic engagement, are actually benefiting from these rapid advancements in tech. While massive urban centers are getting smarter and more connected by the minute, smaller or more localized communities are, quite frankly, being left in the dust, forced to operate on outdated analog systems. To give this problem some serious weight, we aren't just talking about abstract, high-level concepts here. We are looking at real people in real places. Specifically, we're looking at two communities, Mangde Wadi and Katraj. These are two very distinct areas currently sitting right at the tipping point of this technological divide. Without intervention, they really risk falling further behind in economic and social development. But on the flip side, with the right kind of targeted help, they have this amazing potential to leapfrog into the future and become a gold standard for localized innovation. The stakes here literally couldn't be higher for the families and the local businesses in these areas. Which brings us to Section 2, Meet Project Edward. Let's look at exactly why this protagonist was created to tackle this specific challenge. Let's demystify this for a second, because I know terms like AI can sound a bit intimidating, or maybe even a little overly corporate. Project Edward is quite simply a targeted, AI-driven initiative designed to bridge technological gaps and address localized community needs. So what does that actually mean for you, the viewer? Well, it means instead of just dropping a massive one-size-fits-all tech product onto a town and crossing our fingers that it works, Project Edward acts as a customized, intelligent listener. It uses artificial intelligence to figure out exactly what a specific neighborhood requires, whether that's optimizing local transit routes, managing waste, or connecting local vendors, and then it builds the bridge to actually make it happen. No confusing jargon, just smart technology solving real local headaches. Now, a crucial point here is understanding the difference between where Project Edward is ultimately going and what it's actively doing today. The vision is all about long-term community empowerment. The ultimate dream is that these communities become entirely self-sufficient, economically vibrant, and socially connected through seamless technology. But a vision needs a vehicle, right? And that brings us to the mission. Immediate technological implementation. This is the day-to-day, boots-on-the-ground work. We're talking about the physical installation of networks, the deployment of software, and the hands-on training with community leaders. You simply can't reach that big, long-term vision without executing the daily mission. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how it all works. Section 3, Inside the AI Engine. Let's shift gears from the philosophy and peek under the hood. The core architecture here is elegantly simple. Think of it like a highly efficient, hyper-intelligent town hall meeting. Step 1 is data intake. This is the listening phase. The system securely gathers information about what's actually happening in the community, from traffic flows to utility usage. Then, step 2 is AI processing. Think of this as the brainstorming phase. The artificial intelligence acts like a supercomputer town council, crunching all that data to find patterns and inefficiencies that a human eye might just miss. Finally, step 3 is community action or output. This is where all that thinking turns into doing. The AI suggests or even automates real-world solutions. It's like adjusting streetlights to save energy or alerting municipal services to a localized issue before it snowballs into a crisis. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. Whenever we talk about data intake and AI in our own neighborhoods, privacy concerns immediately jump right to the front of the line, as they should. Well, Project Edward addresses this head-on with an incredibly robust security framework. The entire system is built on 4 absolutely non-negotiable pillars. First up, data encryption. This ensures that any information collected is scrambled and completely unreadable to outsiders. Second, anonymization. This means the system is looking at broad trends, not individuals. It sees a crowd, it doesn't see your personal name or your address. Third, strict access controls guarantee that only authorized, thoroughly vetted personnel can even interact with the backend. And finally, localized safeguards ensure that the data stays entirely within the community's jurisdiction. It's not being shipped off to some server on the other side of the planet. Your community's data belongs exclusively to your community. Let's move on and see how this builds in Section 4, Ground Zero, the pilot. Abstract tech is great, but let's see what happens when it hits the real world. By comparing our two pilot locations, Mangde Wadi and Katraj, we can really see how adaptable Project Edward truly is. Mangde Wadi and Katraj have very different demographic makeups, distinct local economies, and completely unique daily rhythms. For instance, the implementation in Mangde Wadi might heavily focus on agricultural or localized trade efficiency, essentially tailoring the AI to those specific environmental markers. Meanwhile, Katraj, with its own specific urban or semi-urban density, requires the AI to optimize totally different logistical challenges. The beauty of this pilot phase is that it is absolutely not a carbon copy approach. It's actively proving that the AI can mold itself to the tangible, breathing reality of incredibly diverse microenvironments. And this brilliantly illustrates the core ethos of the entire initiative. To quote the executive summary directly, bridging the community tech gap begins with localized implementation. You just cannot solve neighborhood problems from a boardroom 1,000 miles away. The pilot program serves as this crucial first step because real-world testing exposes the kind of friction points you could never predict in a laboratory. By starting local, learning local, and iterating local, Project Edward ensures that when the technology finally scales up, it does so with a rock-solid foundation of proven, hard-won, on-the-ground success. Section 5, the road ahead. So where do we go from here? Let's pan out to the broader horizon. The roadmap for Project Edward is deliberate and highly structured. Right now, we're looking at Year 1, the pilot program in Mangde Wadi and Katraj. This is the heavy lifting phase, the data gathering, and the initial real-world friction testing. Then, moving into Year 2, the focus completely shifts to system refinement. This is where the developers take all those lessons learned from the pilot, the successes, and yes, the failures, and tune the AI engine to be faster, smarter, and even more secure. Then we hit Year 3. Broader future expansion. This is when the training wheels come off. The refined, battle-tested system is finally prepared to roll out to neighboring regions, creating a massive web of interconnected, empowered communities. When we look at the expected growth of this project, something amazing happens. In the pilot phase, the social impact, which we measure by local economic boosts, optimized resources, and civic engagement, is solid. It establishes a very sturdy baseline. But when we look at the expansion projection as the system is refined and rolled out, wow, the expected social impact doesn't just grow linearly, it compounds. As the AI scales and more communities are brought into the ecosystem, the efficiency and quality of life improvements just absolutely skyrocket. It's a perfect example of how small, highly targeted technological interventions can yield massive exponential social good. I want to leave you today with this final provocative thought. We've seen exactly how Project Edward is empowering Mangde Wadi and Katraj. We've gone over the privacy safeguards, how the AI engine ticks, and the roadmap for the future. But as this technology inevitably expands, the ultimate question becomes personal. As Project Edward expands, how will AI reshape the future of your own local community? What totally unique problems in your neighborhood could a system like Edward actually solve? The digital divide is a massive, daunting challenge for sure. But as we've seen today, with targeted, community-first innovation, the future is looking incredibly bright. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.